And I want to get through some other really good resources very quickly around 3D printing and AI. There's a group of robots printing a metal bridge to go over a canal in Amsterdam, in Eindhoven, where I used to visit frequently when I worked for Philips. Yes, I did. And boy, it's organic and nice looking. It really, really is. Beautiful. Doesn't it look like it's from biology rather than from humans? You know, well, we're biology too, but it's, you know, biomimicry from nature rather than from humans. And it really is incredible. And I don't have time to show that clip to you, but I want to show you something else of how you get these parts printed out now all the way to final part.
Metal 3D printing could change much of the world around us if it was fast enough and cheap enough for mass production. Introducing the production system, powered by single-pass jetting. At up to 100 times faster than laser-based systems, it's the first metal 3D printing solution for mass production. It works by combining 2 powder spreaders and 1 print unit into a single-pass system to both spread metal powder and print. Unlike existing metal 3D printing, there is no wasted motion with single-pass jetting. A single pass starts in the powder spreader, where a metering system deposits metal powder, and a compacting system forms a layer, as thin as a human hair. The print bar follows, jetting droplets of a binding agent. Millions are jetted per second, binding metal powder to form high-resolution layers. Anti-sintering agents are then deposited, making it possible for supports to fall off after sintering, saving hours of post-processing.
I'll have to leave it there, Alex, because we want to get through just some more resources that are practical and you could apply straight away. But if you got any kind of metal parts in your business, and they're in a catalog, how many SKUs, I asked one of my clients, and they do industrial products, and they turned to the oldest guy in the audience and said, he's our catalog guy. He would know about that. And he said about 250. And I asked him, out of that 250,000, I should say, 250,000 products, how many of those products do they only need dozens of times or under 100 times a year? And he said that would be many thousands of them, Craig. And I say, what a crazy idea if we could just start with those low volume ones. And couldn't we do it? And he said, yes. And so I said, well, you could use an AI to look through your catalog, look through your order form, and it could tell you which ones are the low ones. We could use business intelligence to do that. And then we could scan the part and we could get them made. And Alex, I want to ask you, thinking about that 3D printer that you saw where it can print hundreds of parts for dollars a piece, how much do you think it costs, Alex?
Sorry, how much do I think which cost? The mycelium that you've got up on there?
No, not the mycelium, but that 3D printer that does metal final parts. How much do you think it costs?
Well, I presume the cost is driving down rapidly.
Yes, yeah. Very rapidly.
It could be, you know, like there was a theory 15 years ago that we would all have 3D printers in each of our homes. I don't know whether that's still going to be the case.
Well, it's in every school. There are 3D printers in every school, not in every home, but there's one in every school. I'll give you an idea. So you don't actually buy that printer. You put a deposit down of $5,000, and there's a long waiting list like Tesla's. And so you have to wait months to get it. But after that, you just pay for materials. Yeah, it's a subscription model. And we're going to have all sorts of new materials as well, like mycelium by 2030. It's going to be a major building product. And it's all based on fungus. And Stella McCartney has made a purse out of it, a handbag out of it. But it's an industrial strength product that grows. And so we're going to have products not only 3D printed, but grown. And when I showed this to the Building Research Association of New Zealand, they said, grow a building? Yes, you can instruct it through genetics design. And so there are all sorts of really incredible products. And now where we can actually use AI and analyze genetics, we can actually change the genetics of plants. And I don't know if you've seen, but MIT News had engineers, they created plants that glow. There's actually a proposal to have trees that are lights in some areas. So it really is mind-blowing.
Sure.
But I want to give some other things. So business development is on that roadmap. So the Dream Launch roadmap. And so one of the things that we have to do that's, it's just one of those things you have to do is you have to make slide packs for investor pitches, for client pitches, and to create that startup in 4 days and pitch someone in the industry who thought that we were really there, but not. It was just a design test to see if this is a good idea. We used this tool called Beautiful.ai, and it's an AI that designs your slides for you. And I don't know if you think my slides look okay, but I didn't design them. I want to work 10 times faster, and Beautiful AI looked at my slides, looked at my branding, and created a lot of these slides for me. And I just dropped the videos in over the top of them because it doesn't support high-definition videos yet, but it supports everything else. And so it even looked at my branding, which is over the horizon, and it found some other shots, and it put it in there. And this is incredible because they're all interactive objects. And so you can just click and say, well, I need this SWOT analysis or whatever it might be. It really is incredible, the tools that we have available to us now. And so, yes, on the roadmap is also business development. And think about this. What if you could do something that you've never been able to do before in history in your organization? And that's see inside that black box, that little black box called the sales call. So imagine if you could use AI to analyze how people were reacting to your product when in a sales conversation. And this is all part of product development because you got to get it to market. So Chorus.ai uses AI to analyze Zoom calls. We can actually send it this recording, Alex, and it would analyze what I was saying. It would transcribe everything, and then it would show it to us in a beautiful infographic. And it would say, Craig, we asked you to talk about that new startup you launched called Lutscape, and you were pretty compliant, but you didn't mention it at all of your meetings. You're only 63% compliant. But is it really just bagging on people? No, it's actually, what it does is it analyzes your sales call. It pops up when customers are talking about discounting or competitors or concerns that they had or objections. And then what it does is it coaches you afterwards. And the AI says, hey, Rispin, you were pretty good in that Zoom call, but you could be even better, less connecting words like and things like that. It will analyze that for you as well. And it will say, hey, Alex has done a really good sales call lately where that same objection, he handled it brilliantly. Would you like to see that? And I have to tell you, the companies that I've referred to Chorus, and there are many other competitors. There's not just one that I'm promoting, and I have no financial interest whatsoever. I don't get a commission or anything. I'm doing it because I want to help people. They've used it for all sorts of other applications as well, especially around compliance. So there's all sorts of tools. There's actually hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of AI tools that I could share with you that would help with your product design, going to market, and everything else. But I thought what I'd do now is pause and take any questions that we might have.
Yeah, Craig, David Hauser's got a question. Does your AI consider strength and stresses as well when identifying parts that can be substituted by 3D printing?
It's not my system, it's Autodesk's system. Yeah. Has a system that can analyze the stress points on parts. And for instance, if you put in as follow-up study, generative design and motorcycles, you'll come to a page on Autodesk. And what it can do is it can say, okay, so here's the motor, here's the chain, and here's the back wheel. and the back wheel has to be supported, and we have to support the motor. And so what stresses and points are going to have what load stresses and so on, and then design me a part that doesn't exist between those points. And there's this beautiful bike called the Life Cycle, and it looks organic. It was all designed using this generative design, and there's all sorts of query points. And I'm not an engineer, but if you did that short course, it would answer a lot of these questions for you. And just a little upgrade your brain. Do you know what the Googlers found out? And they learned this from NASA, because Google and NASA actually share a facility and in Northern California. And what they found was that NASA engineers and astronauts, if they sped up video and audiobooks, that they sped it up, that their retention level actually went up. So what I was going to suggest that we do is we talk faster, or actually what you can do is go to YouTube and speed it up, and you'll retain more. And they figured out, they were trying to figure out why. Why do people retain more when the videos are playing faster? And it's because you have to listen more carefully, and it goes deeper into your brain. So here's a brain upgrade. You can speed up your learning and retain 88% better by putting it on 1.5 speed or even 2 speed when you listen to your audiobook. Yeah,
that's a great tip. Amy has a question. Is there a link to the generative design short course?
I will embed the link on my slides so you can click directly on that. So when you get to that page, I'll put a URL there, and also a QR code so you can scan it with your phone. I'll do both for you. So yeah, just double check that's working when I send it to you, Alex.
And the other one is design 10 times faster. What's the link there?
The design 10 times faster, that's just my cover slide for using these tools to design 10 times faster.
That was a YouTube tutorial, you said.
No, there's no tutorial for that. That was just a section slide for all these tools. And I actually, so I'm constantly curating AI tools for my clients. And what kind of return on investment can they get? Well, one publicly listed company recognized that a tool that I referred them to, an AI tool called Christine, that actually went into their dead accounts in Salesforce. So these are accounts that didn't fall up for 90 days. And they knew that they were, well, what they referred to as dead. They weren't active. And Christine reached out. So the AI reached out and converted a lot of those clients. And this is public because they talked about it in the shareholders meeting. They invested back then, 4 or 5 years ago now, $1 million to roll out this AI, Alex. But within a quarter, Christine had converted so many of their clients, they got an extra $4 million worth of revenue. How would you like to invest $1 million and get a 4 times return in 90 days? That was pretty good. And not only that, people were sending flowers, stuffed animals, boxes of chocolates to their front desk saying, thank Christine for following me up, because those people, they weren't being pestered. They were just so busy because they do salary packaging, and it's about getting your details in before the end of the financial year. And they're like, thank you so much. I love my new car. Here's a gift for you. And of course, Christine didn't exist at all. And at the shareholders meeting, the CEO, the then CEO, one of my consulting clients, he's now retired from that role, he announced that Christine was going to replace 35 people in their call center, and a gasp went out. Oh, yes, just like you, Alex, a gasp went out. 35 people in the call center. But I knew, and he said it, you know, those are our shit jobs. He didn't say that, but he said they're really bad jobs. And we can't get people to stay very long, and we don't need them anymore. Christine does a better job. And so we're giving them all promotions, and we're moving them all into marketing because we need real people in marketing. We don't need more people in our call center. And there was actually applause from their shareholders. applause from the shareholders. So
Mm.
look, I want to be so helpful, and we're coming to the end of the time that we have together, but that doesn't mean the end of the conversation. We are going to hit stop record here in a moment, and this is the formal part of the presentation, but there's so much more that I want to share with you. This is just the start of the conversation.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be hanging around answering every single question before we go, but I'm going to hit stop share now, and I'm also going to hit stop record now.
So there is a question from Denise Ortak. Are there any AI tools that can assist with product design of common goods that are accessible and affordable?
Oh, good question. I would have to go and do some research. That's a really good question, though. And here are some places that I would look. There's a great website called Product Hunt. Do you know about Product Hunt, Alex?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. And there is a community of people that are sharing cool products all the time. And it's one of the places that I go looking for AI tools for product design. And this is where I find them. And what's nice about Product Hunt is you can't promote yourself there. Somebody has to hunt you, that they use it and they like it. And so they put it into that place. And so when clients ask me about anything, that's the first place that I look. Did you notice I didn't say Google it, Alex? No, what I found is that, well, people have figured out how to use Google, and the first 10 links, they tend to be mostly fake news these days. You know, people have gamed it. People have review websites reviewing their software, and they're number one on the list, and it's on their own website. Not very transparent and pretty obvious, but they're on the front page because it says, you know, review of video conferencing software. So what I like to do is turn to communities, and Product Hunt is one of those communities, but there are many communities that you can go to and you can ask a question. A couple others that you could use is one that's called Capterra, and that's really for enterprise software. Enterprise software. And Capterra.
Oh, Capterra, yeah.
Yes, CAPET. I'm dyslexic, Alex, but if you type in or just ask Google Capterra, you'll find it. And there are 500,000 reviews there of enterprise software, including Autodesk, Fusion, and Vectorworks, and all the tools that are there, and AI tools, and church management software, and chiropractic software. I mean, every category you can imagine. They got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of categories, and product design and product management for product managers. Yes, I used to be a product manager, and I played one on TV as well. I actually did it in a documentary. But anyway, everything's there. We're living in an age of transparency where you can see where people are writing reviews of what they really think. And that's what I like, because you get to people's Google searches, or you get to their web pages and they're talking about themselves. And I always like to see what other people have to say about products and services rather than what people have to say about themselves.
Yeah, so. Given that we're at that, as you say, the end time, but there's still people hanging around.
Please unmute yourself.
I just want to let everyone know that rather than type in the questions or whatever, you're welcome. We don't have the visuals because I think it's under a webinar format, but you're welcome, because you're all unmuted, to actually ask a question directly and have a conversation with Craig just by speaking up. The webinar to answer Lillian's question will be a copy that we will email the last hour to everyone.
Yes.
I noticed there's some really, great people in the room, so ask away, please.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, when we're all invisible. I'd certainly like to thank you, Craig, on behalf of Dream Launch. As you know, this is really kicking off a series that we want to... Oh, look, we've got a hand raised from Daniel Mumby. Daniel. Go for it, Daniel.
Had to raise your hand to unmute the microphone.
Is that what it does? I didn't know that.
G'day, Craig. So innovation as a service. As an innovator myself, it's really easy to come up with really, really good ideas. But here's the thing. I don't know what I don't know. I mean, most innovators are really good at joining lines between dots before most people see the dots. And we're good at that. But what about the dots that I don't see? Or what about the methods to draw the lines faster that I don't know about? How do I find other great innovators who know how to do a thing better than I do? I know what I want. I don't necessarily know how to get there faster. Who's coming up with the innovation as a service model, if you will?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. So it's a high-tech, high-touch example. And part of what you're talking about, not knowing the unknown and knowing what you do know, is what we would classify academically, and I'm not an academic, but academically we would classify it as your biases. Because when we know things, we're biased towards the things that we know. And so when I go and talk to organizations and I ask them, where are you getting most of your ideas from? And you know what they tell me? They tell me, well, from the usual suspects that all have their biases.
Okay, so can I qualify then?
Yes.
I'm talking about from the perspective of innovators, mostly who are often polymaths, who are getting their sources of information from being curious and talking to other people. So not the corporate innovation, which is completely the antithesis of what I'm talking about. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. And so I use a tool, and there would be a tool that would be more specific to what you want to do, but I want to give it as an example.
Thank you.
That's Athena, and it's Athena is the agent, the AI agent that's on Shaping Tomorrow, which essentially is a community of futurists. And I would say most futurists are innovators, so you could tap into that community as well. So you go to Shaping Tomorrow and get an account there, or I could help you with that. And that's what I do with my clients, because they don't want Athena on their board yet. So they ask me, I ask Athena, I tell them, which is kind of funny. But it's not just that. That's just the high-tech side. What I can then do is when I collect the information that, say, Australian Pork wanted, or Sydney Airport wanted, or Sydney Fish Markets wanted, or the College of Chiropractic wanted to know, is they wanted to know these specific things, and then they wanted to find other experts, or what you call innovators, what are fellow futurists, and so I put it out to that community on the same website. And to give you one example, we had 869 futurists peer review the data that came in through Athena. And what it did was it broke down the bias of not information coming in from outside the organization, only it's coming from internal the organization, and only coming from a small group rather than the wisdom of crowds. And so I'm not just promoting Shaping Tomorrow. It's a tool that many hundreds and hundreds of futurists use. But that tool has been used for all sorts of communities. And if you go to the bottom, Daniel, the bottom of the Shaping Tomorrow page, it says powered by somebody. It's powered by someone. I think it's Community Conversations or something like that. And if you go to their website, they have a tool that works with other fields of study.
Yeah.
And in it, one of them, I think, is Innovators in Europe. I think one of them is Innovators in Government in Europe. Sounds like an oxymoron, innovators in government, but there's lots of innovators in government these days, and there's even conferences about it. So I would look at the tool that's behind Shaping Tomorrow, and maybe there's some futurists that are innovators as well. I know Alex for upcoming webinar. I think that you're booking in Nils Vesk as well, aren't you?
Yeah, we're talking to Nils, yeah.
Well, he's both an architect and an innovator and a futurist. So I think there's a little overlap. I hope that's helpful to you as an example of how I use it in my practice. You could use it in your practice. And if there isn't a community already out there using tools like Shaping Tomorrow, an AI tool, and then sending it out for peer review, create it. There's a demand for it.
What a concept. Thank you.
So we've also got a hand up from Melissa, and if you want to speak.
Hey, loved the presentation. Have all these ideas kind of flowing around. And it's like one of the best places to discover new things, definitely for me, is other people in the futurist space because you'll see other things. So in the light of that, I'd love to know what your favorite email, like newsletter that you've subscribed to as a source of inspiration.
Right. Email newsletter that I subscribe to. So I sort of unsubscribe to newsletters, but can I answer with the same reply and an additional tool? So it is a professional tool and it's expensive. It's about 1,500 euros per year, Shaping Tomorrow. But that's my go-to every day. Yeah. And then I'll give you another one. So because I'm always consulting and looking at the fourth industrial revolution, the World Economic Forum has something called Strategic Insight. And I have to tell you that they were very naughty, and so I had to spank them. Because the World Economic Forum, one of their charters is inclusiveness. And they had this wonderful infographic tool that looks at all aspects of everything that's going on. And if you go to the World Economic Forum, wefforum.com, I think it is, and click at the top, and it's called very strangely top links. You go there, you go Strategic Insight. And they kind of buried it, but what they did, they were very naughty. They only made it available to people that were invited to Davos and had paid $30,000 to attend. Yeah. And I reached out to them and I said, one of your charters is right here. And it says inclusiveness. That's not being very inclusive. No. And you know what? They were a very good child. They replied to me and they said, you were exactly right. We're reversing our policy. We're making it open source.
That's awesome.
And it is a great tool. And so it's not really a newsletter, but it's something you can subscribe to and get updates. And there's a great iPhone app. And so when I'm having my morning coffee, I'm checking. I'm checking Athena for specifically industry stuff that I'm doing with my clients. I'm looking at strategic intelligence from the World Economic Forum. And you can get that for free now, or you can pay for a pro plan for about $1,000, and that's what they're going to try and upsell you to. But you get all the same data. You just get to build a bigger community. And what's great about it is that you can click on COVID-19, for instance. It gives you this beautiful infographic. And then down the right-hand side, it gives you links to a bunch of video talks and YouTube videos and other talks, not just from the World Economic Forum, and then publications that you can read, research papers you can read, and then data sets that you can use and play with. And what's nice about it is it's not just the industry players that are part of the World Economic Forum. What they've done is they brought in academics, and they've said, please manage this topic for us. So they've got hundreds of academics managing each topic and making sure there's no fake news in there, if you know what I mean.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, and then the last one, so I do this over my morning coffee, Shaping Tomorrow, World Economic Forum, and Flipboard.
I love Flipboard. Yeah, I use Flipboard. It's a goodie. Gets you out of your echo chamber.
You look at futurism.
Futurism, yes. Futurism's in my feed. And Futurism is a great blog and video producer from one of our colleagues, and the publisher, who's, I have to go to Evernote in my brain, is connected to me on LinkedIn. So if you want to send me a LinkedIn request, everybody, I'm connected to hundreds of other futurists, not just Alex, and there's more than 20,000 of us in our peak industry. And if I can refer you to a futurist that's also a pig farmer, did you know he exists? Higgins is his name, in fact. That you can find futurists in every single area, and we just love to be helpful. And many of us don't have futurist titles in companies. Sometimes they're called chief, innovation officers, or executive director of forward planning, or something like that. We don't all have the title futurist.
Yeah, so Anne is on the call with a question around medical innovation, where to find the latest in medical innovation.
There's a fantastic health Futures Digest is published by a medical futurist that I met, Health Futures Digest. And it is a blog that you can subscribe to. I think you get an email, and they're constantly covering medical innovations. I have to say that if you don't know this about me, about a third of all the work that I do is in the healthcare medical industry. Work with many peak body surgeons, GPs, hospitals, private hospitals, and these things that have popped up recently all over the place. You may have noticed them as you've been driving around. Have you been doing any driving around? If you're driving around, you see these things popping up like never before, and they say day hospital. What does that mean? That means you don't stay overnight. You go in and have a procedure and come out, and it's because of AI-powered robot surgeries that's better than the surgeon. What, better than the surgeon? No, makes the surgeon better. Makes the surgeon better. And those young professionals, and they've worked on me because I know it's going to gross you out. Kidney stones, very painful. But when the young doctor came to me and he said, we're going to be using robots and we're going to use lasers on a little fine wire, and it's just going to go fiber optic, and we're going to blast it and then you vacuum it out with a bit of water. I said, frickin' lasers, sign me up. And then I said, where is that? And they said at the day hospital. And the reason is because of this incredible impact of technology in healthcare. And if I could show you this slide, it would blow your mind. But to give you an idea, think about this. Just think about this for a moment. How fast has technology changed in the last 30 years? Incredibly fast. Just think about it. Medical technology, probably 100 times faster. I've got data to share that with you. I'd love to share that with you. I'll pop that slide in the deck as well, Alex, but it's something that I'm really passionate about. And one of my adult children, we're trying to come up with a better name than adult children. My daughter, who's 22, got her degree in bioinformatics and biomedical engineering, so I'm personally invested in this area. She's working in her dream job, which is personalized medicine at the Children's Cancer Institute. Mm-hmm. And just a shameless plug here, it looks like because of the coronavirus that a lot of their researchers may have to be let go. So if there's anything you could do, if you support the research, and specifically the program that my daughter's working on and the entire institute and many institutes have banded together, is the last 20%. We've solved 80% of childhood cancers. We prevented 80% of fatalities. It's the next 20%, and they think that personalized medicine is going to do that in less than 20 years. So if you are financially in a position that you're able to support a worthy cause, and this is close to your heart, would you please go to the Children's Research Institute? They're at UNSW, and they're taking donations now. You'll be directly supporting. I don't know if you saw Four Corners last night and all the news. It looks like maybe up to 9,000 medical researchers' jobs are at risk.
Wow.
It really is a shame. And one of the reasons is that the government excluded universities from JobKeeper.
That's right.
Why? Why?
Yeah, no, I heard about that. How do you see that as globally for the future around post-COVID? Generally, if there's this brain drain going on where, funding is being cut, not just in Australia, but worldwide.
It's a worldwide problem, yes. But they're doing incredibly great work. And I know that a lot of people have been doing, fun runs and fun swims in big groups to raise money for Children's Cancer Research Institute. But they're not doing that now because they can't do it in big groups. So people are doing laps in their backyard. So they're saying, I'll walk around my backyard or the local oval, at distance, and will you support me? So if anybody reaches out to you and it's got anything to do with research, it's actually so important because those researchers are saving lives, really saving lives. And they need to be supported. And it's not just my daughter. My daughter's, luckily, her position is funded. but it's all the others that are on campus that are not funded really.
The Backyard Walk's quite a popular fundraiser. You heard about that guy in England, the 100-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
He raised millions. Lynn Wood had another point, and I'll put the number on the screen there, but Lynn was basically the founder of a group called Idea Spies, which I think you might have seen in my LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And Lynn wanted to mention also that Idea Spies to people like Melissa is something as a researcher to think about around ideas and ideation.
I subscribed to it during the webinar.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
So I've enabled you all to talk if you want in terms of, but everyone's sort of disappearing now, I can see that.
Yeah.
But thanks again, Craig, and also want to shout out to Tina Manalissis from Future Focus Marketing and Anne from Suits and Sneakers as being a great help to putting this together, and we're looking forward, as you know, to putting a lot more on the Dream Launch in terms of the whole Dream Launch journey map, production, product map, yeah, with ongoing workshops and monthly seminars like this.
Exciting.
So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I think everyone else is pretty much gone. Oh, Thomas is there. Thomas, are you going to say something? No. David? No. They're the people.
Thank you, Alex. Very well done. Really enjoyed it.
Thomas. So say hello to Craig. Thomas knows Richard Haynes as well, Craig, and he's now started at Uni of South Australia in commercialisation.
Absolutely. So
Nice.
A lot of pertinent stuff that you discussed today. We're pushing through, and my job is to get it out there into the into industry and into society. So I really enjoyed your insights, and I've already asked quite a few things you've discussed today, Craig.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
And we should catch up when we have a moment with Alex, eh?
Yeah, we're catching up next week, I trust.
All right, beautiful. Thanks, man. Take care.
Right. Thanks, Thomas. You too.
Thanks, man.
Okay, well, if no one's got any other questions, we'll say adios.
Ta-da to everyone. And if I can help you in any way, just let me know. Reach out on LinkedIn is probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Yeah.